Welcome everyone, I'm Richard Fredrickson and this is Channel 6 and YouTube. Welcome. It's great to have you with us today. By the way, today is a weather history day. If you're watching us in July or June or whenever you're watching, I never know when these shows are on. It's going to be like 60 degrees here in this February. So all of you watching this on YouTube, sitting in Tampa, sitting in Naples, and it's 55 degrees, we got you beat. Mayor Terry Darcy is here with us today, and welcome. And the, I guess I can still say the new city manager, Beth Beatty, hasn't even been 3 months yet. So all these tough questions, I expect you to answer.
Okay. I'll do my best.
But the first one is, and I really don't know the total process. Mayor, if you would, what is the process in bringing on a city manager for you and the city council? How does it happen?
Well, we did a nationwide search with a group called Korn Ferry that works with a lot of Fortune 500 companies. And we had many, many applications for the position, and we just kept boiling it down to people that had the qualifications and the character to do it. And we worked it down from 14 pretty solid to 4. And then the council interviewed the final 4, and we then made an executive decision on who was going to work with the city. Yeah. The CEO of the city.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to give a definition. What is a city manager? And what are her or his?
So in a city manager form of government, like the mayor mentioned, I would be essentially the CEO. So I am in charge of all of the employees of the city, including police and fire, our unions, our non-exempt or our exempt positions, responsible for, the day-to-day decisions that need to be made on departmental levels. I oversee all of our directors and work with the mayor and the city council on what our priorities are for the city of Joliet and how we can move those forward to best impact the lives of Joliet residents for the better.
Great, very good. Now, I'm going to give the mayor a chance to digest my next question. I'm going to go back to you, okay. But I'm going to let him look at the teleprompter and get all these answers all set. We have no teleprompter. Summarize, if you would, 2023. Just hold on that thought. Think about what went on, some of the issues, some of the fun stuff, some stuff that was not so much fun in 2023. I have a question for you that only you could answer. How does a girl from Moline, Illinois end up 20 years in various capacities, various mayors? How does that happen?
A lot of hard work and perseverance and dedication, I think. I grew up in Moline. I went to St. Mary's College, which is an all-women's Catholic college in South Bend, Indiana, for my undergrad, and I went to Chicago for my law degree, John Marshall Law School. So that's what brought me to the city of Chicago. I then clerked for an Illinois Supreme Court justice for a few years, and got my first job in Chicago working for Chicago alderman, and I spent the next 18 years working my way up through working for aldermen and with their communities, to working for mayors as legislative counsel and helping shepherd legislation through at the local level, at the state level and the federal level, ultimately.
Who was that alderman that you worked for?
The very first alderman I worked for was Alderman Gene Schulter in the 47th Ward. He's still around. He's not an alderman anymore. He retired in 2011, but I give him a lot of credit for a lot of my success there. He taught me a lot about the importance serving the community, serving it well, and civil service. My parents were both civil servants in Moline, so I feel like it was really a calling for me.
Let's talk about your parents and your family for a moment.
Sure.
Obviously, seeing you, meeting you, knowing what you have done and will be doing, they must have been an inspiration to you somehow, some way, of you getting off into your college, your law, and then ultimately into the city of Chicago. What was it? What was it like growing up in Moline and with your mom and dad?
Yeah, it was a wonderful place to grow up in Moline. I had a wonderful time growing up. My mother was a paralegal for the city of Moline. My father was a circuit court judge. So I've been involved in politics for a very young age. I was lucky enough to have a very loving father we had a lot of the same interests, both loved baseball, we both loved politics, we both loved the law, we just had a lot of the same interests, and he dedicated his life and his career to the Quad Cities, Rock Island, Moline, more so than Davenport and Bettendorf, but sat on a number of boards and really gave back to the community in a really profound way. And I just saw growing up how my parents were able to impact other people's lives for the better.
Yeah.
And what they instilled in me there, motivated me to also be a civil servant.
Be interesting. Are both your parents alive?
My father passed 10 years ago,
Okay.
but my mother's still alive.
I would have loved to have interviewed him and your mother.
I would have loved that too. They would have loved that, I'm
because,
sure.
I guess there's families out there who just thoroughly enjoy politics. There can't be too many,
Right.
but there has to be some. And
Yeah,
you come
I
from
came
a
from
family who
one.
loved politics and had to be the motivator and inspiration for a young lady to go on and do what you've done and continue to do.
Yes.
We're going to give you a break, give you a little bit of thought here, because I'm going to go find out a little deeper about these guys you worked for, these mayors that you just
Yes.
kind of, I worked for a couple of mayors.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
But we're going to switch a little bit over here to our Mayor, Terry Darcy. I always have this favorite topic, and then we'll go to real topics. Well, this is a real topic, but the last 2 interviews I think I've had with you, but I don't remember if it was radio or YouTube or Channel 6. If anything happening on the floodplain issue, downtown Joliet and on the east side, either one of you can answer that, if it's something that's processing through.
Both are being worked on as we speak. Matter of fact, we have a meeting, I believe, again today with Congresswoman Underwood. She's been instrumental in helping us move this along. The pace of government's much different than what I'm used to in the pace of the business world. But she's been very, very helpful on getting this thing moved along. One of the last issues we have is some of this has to move into the U.S. Steel property, so they're in the middle of a buyout, but they're going to be working with us, and I'm sure the Congresswoman will make sure that she will make sure that they work with us to get this project completed. It's imperative we get it done. We got River's Edge tax credit now. We've got historical tax credits, and a lot of that's covering the best part of our downtown. So we need to get that moving, and we are. The other one, the Hickory Creek thing, has been laying around for 30 or 40 years, but we've lit a fire under that, and we're starting to find out that we may not have to do the heavy lifting that they originally decided to do and got about a third of the way through and stopped. So we're working with IDNR and our state legislators to help us figure out how to navigate that second floodplain, because it has a dramatic effect on some of the people that don't have as high of an income, yet they're paying $2,400 a year in flood insurance that is not necessary. So those are some of the things I learned in the journey to become the mayor, and those are the things that are very important to me, and particularly that second floodplain issue. I know Cesar Cardenas is very strong on it because that's his district, much of it, and we're working as hard as we can to speed government up some, which is not always the fastest moving group I've ever worked with. I don't say that negatively. I'm just not used to the.
I like to use the word challenging.
Yeah, thank you.
It can be a challenge.
There were a lot of naysayers about this bridge, not over the River Kwai, but over the Des Plaines River, Hobart, leading into the Intermodal. Do you have any numbers or any, is it working? And is it being used? Because they say, oh, no one's going to, those truckers will not pay that toll, they'll not use that bridge.
We have a monthly meeting with United Bridge Partners. I didn't meet with them, you met with them
I met
yesterday.
with them yesterday, yeah.
Their numbers continue to climb. And as a city, we're strongly working to make that the only in and out of that whole intermodal system. I don't want them coming up Briggs. I don't like them coming up 53 using Laraway. We're going to push as hard as we can to make sure those trucks use that bridge and use those highway infrastructures to get them off of our city streets and give our 150,000 residents the use of their streets back. Because what's happening is they're coming through our downtown. They're finding any way they can to avoid the $8. But it's actually makes more sense for them. It's more efficient. They're spending less time and less fuel to get all these sidetracks, but it also is, it's clogging up our roads. And you know, our citizens didn't recognize 20 years ago when Centerpoint came in here and the whole intermodal program that 20 years later, the tree that was planted is, I call it the beehive. It's bringing a lot of 80,000-pound bees, however they want, through our state routes to that location, but they're finding side roads to get around it. We want them to use that bridge, and we're going to work as hard as we can to make sure that's coordinated to where they use the bridge. Yeah. It's imperative.
Even today in the news on JOL and in the Herald News, talk about the schools out in Elwood wanting to send their kids to Central and thinking about maybe we can't do that because of the traffic. We'll send them out to Wilmington. So, I mean, it's not only affecting Joliet, it affects all the communities around us as well. Issue. Yeah, it definitely is. We are not, Joliet, are not the only people who have truck parking and truck locations. If you go to anywhere, Shanahan, go up to Crest Hill, Lockport, they all have, you know, you're driving around and oh, I didn't know that was there. Yeah. They're everywhere. And we have, as you said, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, who would have thunk that that would take place? And it has. And it's great to hear that some of the progress on working on a solution to that traffic is.
Well, I'm gonna add to that too. You know, Joliet's 21% of the population of Will County. We're like the stalk of the umbrella, and so we've created a collaboration between Will County Governmental League, which is all the mayors of the Will County area. And we all need to work together, unified, to create a truck traffic plan. This isn't about Joliet. This is about Elwood and Manhattan and Wilmington and everybody that's inundated by these trucks. We have to come up with a plan that's going to make sure that there's truck routes. I call it the wagon train. I said sometimes you get on 80, you might want to just toss a hook on the truck, shut your motor off, and cruise for a while because you're stuck there, you know. And it's one thing that they're on the interstates or the toll roads, but when they start coming into our Route 53s and our downtowns, and we really need our partnerships together. I mean, together we're a force, and we need to utilize that. We have met in this office here with Omar Osman, the Secretary of IDOT, his team, and some of our local leaders to start to push that agenda that together we can make something happen.
Things are happening in Joliet, and we're going to continue. Now we're going to switch the camera over here to Beth. And one of the things that you might think about is, and those of you who say, well, that can't be, Joliet is and going to continue to be, and even more so, a tourism attraction. The city of Joliet with what we have to offer. We'll touch on that with you. Who was the first mayor you worked for?
So the first mayor I worked directly for was Rahm Emanuel. I worked under the daily administration, so I interacted often with him, but I wasn't a direct report to him.
Right. So if I could read my writing here, let's see. Lori Lightfoot, yes. And of course just recently Brandon Johnson. With him, I guess you were deputy mayor?
Deputy Mayor of Intergovernmental Affairs.
Okay. And then this will help here too as well, I would think. You had to kind of maneuver a lot of different people. I don't know if we have lobbyists here in Joliet. I honestly don't know, but you did in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of share some of those experiences you had with both the aldermen or alderpersons, the mayors, and these lobbyists and these people who are coming through those doors in your various positions that you've served 2 decades. What were you, 14 years old when you started this?
No. I was not 14. I was in my mid-20s when I started, and I started with aldermen. So I started working with them in their, in their offices, answering the phones, any complaints that would come in. I need a new garbage can. There are rats in my alley. Not the sexy things that you really think. Not that anyone thinks that government is sexy, but a lot of, just work in really serving the constituents. And so when I was recruited by Rahm Emanuel to work in his office as legislative counsel in governmental affairs, I was essentially a liaison to the full city council. So here in Joliet, we have 8 city council members and the mayor, so 9 total. In the city of Chicago, we had 50 alder people and the mayor. So I think the beginning of my career really helped prepare me to work for mayors, because I had that trust with a lot of the aldermen who I had not only worked for, but worked with, and they knew that I had an understanding of the day-to-day operations for them, like what was important to their communities. And so I think that helped build a lot of trust then when I worked for Rahm Emanuel, for Lori Lightfoot, and eventually for Brandon Johnson, because for 18 years I just developed relationships with those electeds and was really able to voice some of their concerns to the administration from a level of experience.
How is that going to transfer over here to Joliet with these council people and this guy sitting over here? I tell you what, we'll just have him not listen in here for a moment.
I think it's
Let me turn my back. You can talk about it.
No, there are a number of the same issues. It's just on a different scale. So the same thing that Chicago residents are worried about, we are worried about as well. Maybe not the truck traffic so much, but a lot of the other issues are similar, and it's all about building that trust and being able to respond to our council people on concerns that their constituents have, and really put our efforts towards helping them through those issues and helping the community to the best of our abilities.
Is it a long commute from Chicago to Joliet every day?
Oh, I live here already. Yeah, I'm living here already. I felt like it was really important, if I was going to be the city manager, that I be present here in the community. So yeah, I have a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom at the moment, but I'm looking for a house. So if anyone hears of anything, let me know.
Oh, Beth. Oh, Beth. Now, half the people you're going to see in the next couple of weeks are going to be
We'll have a good.
The, who was your, now that you're out of Chicago,
Yeah.
I don't know how you measure this, but who was the most challenging and most enjoyable mayor that you worked with or under in all of these different governmental affairs?
Yeah, so I would say they were all challenging, but in a good way, in a good way that made us all want to work harder and better for them to make Chicago better. The one that I worked with, the one that I worked closest with was Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She's the one that elevated me to deputy mayor. She saw in me the gifts and talents that I had with the city council, and she really, she demanded excellence, but she was one of the smartest people I've ever met. She was brilliant, and she would always take into account what the experts around the table, which at that time I was the expert in intergovernmental affairs, and she would really take in our advice. She may not always follow that advice, but she would ask for it, we would advise, and she would take that in making her own determinations. But I really just am thankful that she recognized the talent and the experience that I had and could see past other demographics that may impact, hiring in the past, and gave me that opportunity to really shine.
You've 2.5 months or 2 months or just under 3 months so far here in February of 2024. What's your impression of Joliet? Have you gone on the tour?
Yes, I've been on a tour. I still need to do more tours, I'm sure. It reminds me a lot of Moline, Illinois. We're a river town in Moline, as here, heavy industrial, and people that really care about their community. That's really what I've been most taken with, that there are misconceptions about what Joliet is, and it's really important, I think, that we get our message out about the gems that we have here, the history that we have here. A lot of people talk about the prison, which is a wonderful place to visit. It's a tourist attraction, but it's not everything that Joliet is. Outside of Joliet, people say, oh yeah, where the prison is, but there's so much more to offer, I think, to others here, and we really need to get that message out. I just, the community members that I've met, and other civil service workers here in Joliet, they really care about the city and want it to do well and work really hard to do that. So I think it feels like home.
The question I have for the two of you, because this is one of those things that I keep thinking about asking various mayors that I've talked to, and some areas are okay, but most are challenging, and that's the entry into the city of Joliet, the entrances.
Yes.
Either one could step up and talk about that.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
So Greg Ruddy has provided me with a picture of every entrance, and we're now working in correlation with landscape design people to come up with a good plan to use native grasses, native plants, perennials, and then some annuals to really give us some color when you drive into our city. And it was always a budget thing. I've been paying for the flower pots downtown for the last 3 years because the city didn't think they should fund that. And I thought, well, you got to have flowers downtown. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but we pulled back from things like that. And you only get one chance at a first impression. So when someone comes to Rialto for the first time and they drive in and it's like, does anybody care? We need to show we care, first and foremost. So those are really big things. I know Joe Clement's always bringing it up, and I agree with him. We really need to focus on our entrances. We need that first impression to be a really good one, so you want to come back again and again. We're pulling down all the murals. The murals are all tired. We're going to bring them all down. We're going to put them all back up fresh and ready. Like that picture there's got a lot of bright colors in it. We need the bright back too. So we're focused on that.
It's years ago when we would go to those viaducts, those were great, phenomenal murals, but they were attached to the wall, and the walls are crumbling, rather than having something on a frame on the wall. But
we're going to talk to the art commission about that, because that is a point that's been brought up. Do we want something we can take down and put up, but not have up all the time, because the winter months are tough on everything. So we are looking at that. Thank you.
Well, you mentioned the Rialto and the prison, and the Joliet has more, and we'll talk about downtown, but there's other things in Joliet as well. But in Joliet, and you can speak to any one of these issues, the architecture in downtown Joliet, the Rialto, as you've talked about, the Historical Museum, the Rock and Roll Museum, soon to be opening, the Ironworks, which I think there's like maybe 3 people who've gone there because you just kind of zip on by and don't know it's located there. And it's a really phenomenal place to go and just look at the history of Joliet. What am I missing? Something, I'm sure. Oh, the prison. And as you summarize 2023 for me a little bit, I'm sure some of those will be entering into some of the recollections you have on the positive side of 2023 and events that we've had. Good, bad, Joliet, too many people coming into Joliet. What would be the reaction of either one of you? We're going to have a lot of people coming as soon as we, and we're going to touch on it, as soon as we get downtown fixed, there's so many different areas. You go to downtown now and it's like a war zone in some of those streets because of the pipelines and stuff. But what's going to happen in, let's say, 2025, 2026, if we can get some of this stuff done?
2026 is our definite timeline. That's when we really want everything ready. The Rialto will be 100, Route 66 will be 100, my mom will be 100. The 26 Ford I put in the museum will be 100, so I want to pull out and drive her to the Rialto. But, you know, those are all key times for us. I mean, this is when we remember. Just like, you know, today is Joe Bellman's first day of the next century he's going to live.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to really, you know, take gratitude for the past century and be ready for the next century. So we've got to engage the young and everybody in between to decide what we're going to look like. When I was blessed to get this job as mayor, my job was to make sure that you leave the city better than you found it and what we're going to look like in 10 years and beyond. So we have to make a plan, and it takes a little while to make a plan. It just doesn't happen overnight. You know, I've refurbished some old houses, and you got to tear them all the way down to the studs, rip out the plumbing, the old knob and tube wiring. And we're in that metamorphosis right now. There's a lot of our underground, you know, we've got to change a lot of the water piping because it's too old. That's going to rip up city streets, downtown streets. You know, we're going to spend, we're going to invest several million in the Chicago street beautification and remodification along with the city square. And as we do that, you know, and I still have in my mind the whole idea of that bow dome out on the old steel property, and I've mentioned that to the head of real estate for steel more than once, and for the U.S. Steel Company. You know, that would be a tournament center for people to come in on Thursday, and my kids were all in sports, so you go somewhere on Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, they play sports, either Saturday night or Sunday. So what do you do in the meantime? You know, you go find something to do. I've been in Grand Rapids and Detroit and Canada and everywhere else. We have plenty of things to keep you occupied while you're in between games. You know, a lot of times the kids are tired and all that, but we're going to have so much history to look at. You know, the prison is going to be, I went to the prison in Mansfield, Ohio when we decided should we or shouldn't we take this project on. And it was impressive. I mean, they bring in $3.5 to $4 million in revenue. They didn't paint all the cells. It's still all torn up, and we have that same opportunity. We're in such a close to a metro place that we have a lot more draw than Mansfield, Ohio did. We just have to get it ready. But again, you have to make a plan before you start. So you got to know where you want to go, come back, make your plan, then go step by step to get there. So we're in a heavy planning stage.
2024. What's going to happen this year? What are your plans for this year, 2024? Then I'll let you relax.
All right. So, you know, when I went on this journey for this opportunity, as I referred to this part-time job, I went and knocked on a lot of doors. You know, there was a lot of folks in different parts of our community that had lost hope in the leadership. And so, first of all, we wanted to bring back hope. You know, we are listening. We know your communities need revitalization. We want to help. You know, so community, communication, and collaboration were the things that I was really focused on. So, and I think you might have heard Rusty Raley, Pastor Raley, say this: you have to know what your now is before you know what your next is. Yeah. And so we need to know who we are right now. So we're part of our long-term comprehensive plan. We're engaging a company called Urban 3. Mm-hmm. Someone sent me a YouTube to watch, and what this company does is they come in, they take a look at who you are now, literally. We've got 68 kind of weirdly shaped square miles of our city, 43,000 some odd acres. Not all of it's used yet, and our country's going to grow 1% a year till 2050, so you can see it all pushing out our way. So what percentage, you know, I say, I've heard this rumor that we're going to be the second largest city in Illinois one day. I don't know who started that, but I'll continue it.
Someday
Probably
soon.
true.
But you know, we've got the water capabilities, we've got the power capabilities, so we have to really set the stage for the canvas we still have that's blank. We need residential housing. We're in a crisis for housing. I mean, everybody tells me we're bringing all these jobs to the intermodal, but where are they going to live? They got to live outside our city. We need them inside our city. So we need to kind of figure out what are we going to look like in 10 years and beyond. And so that's what we're doing right now. We're going to be kicking in this pretty quick here, and the speed of government's different than the speed of my business. So we're engaging Urban 3 to come in and tell us, what do we look like now? What are our real estate taxes doing for us? Where's the cause and effect of the big lots out west and the small lots on the east side? We don't have a lot of vertical that brings us a lot of condensed real estate taxes. I don't know what the tax positions are of all these warehouses we're building. Are they really enhancing our schools? Are they bringing us enough money in our real estate tax for all the work we have to do to sustain them? So what Urban 3 is going to do is come and give us an accounting of who we are right now. And then we'll decide then, so where's going to be the next best phase for residential? You know, we need to create community in different pockets of the city. You know, Route 59 would be our far west Jefferson Street. Essington Road, a secondary Jefferson Street or center of an area. You know, is Briggs Street going to be the next center of an area so that that residential pocket can have all the things it needs with groceries and things like that? But those are the things that we're going to look at from that 35,000 feet and start to decide. I said that the city did a lot of what I call dartboard zoning. Let's just put a warehouse, let's put light industrial there. But, you know, we've got a fantastic forest preserve system in our area, and we've got industrial buildings next to forest preserves. That should have been housing. I hate to say it, but if we'd have looked at this now, 5 years ago, we might not, and no offense to IKEA, they're right by a beautiful forest preserve with bike paths and everything else. But that could have been workforce housing. I mean, this is the thing that I think we're doing right now, is we're really taking our time. When we come out with this thing, it's going to be vital that we create a good plan. We haven't had one in many, many years. So that's what we're doing a lot of work on, along with day-to-days.
How do you balance all this stuff with your business, with this part-time job, and your family? How's that working out for you?
Well, Sue gave me permission to do this, which I give her a lot of respect. I mean, it's we start in the morning early, and you know, we make sure that we have on council meeting weeks. I make sure that whatever she wants to do Wednesday to the weekend is all hers. And my businesses, you know, I was ready to retire basically. I've got now 4 dealerships, but the oldest general manager in any one of my stores is 42 years old. I've got a really good group of young people, and it's a young people's business. I say I'm in the people business, and cars are our commodity. So I make sure that everybody understands our culture, and that there's a compass pointed at true north. Keep the compass up. Don't ever do anything for the almighty dollar. Do the right thing at all costs. And so that is our culture, and it's working pretty well. You know, and I teach the people that work with me, you're a servant leader. When I move you up a notch, that means you work harder to make them better. Because that's what I did to help you get to your notch up. Right. I've got guys that were porters 20 years ago that are running stores because, you know, they wanted to move up, and we helped them move up. And in this position, again, you know, I'm a servant leader. I just want to do what's best for the community. You know, we're balanced here between a partnership with industry and residents. And residents by far take the lead in my position. I have to be cognizant of what's going to be best for the quality of life so that we can grow to be that second city, and people are going to want to be here, you know. So that's the job that I've put on myself.
Good. Thanks, Jerry. The Beth, 2024, what right now at this very moment would be some of your priorities?
Well, like the mayor said, the long-term comprehensive plan is a main focus, just so we can have a roadmap for the future. And the truck traffic is something that we're working on every day, regionally, talking to our, you know, surrounding partners. And I think, you know, just executing on a lot of the vision, especially of the mayor and the city council, and making this the city the best that we can. Another thing, like as the CEO, I suppose, of the city is just, you know, getting to meet with all of the people who spend their time working for us, and getting to know them. And we're working on building some morale. There was a lot of turnover in the city manager position before I got here. So for me, establishing those relationships, improving morale, and you know, I'll be here. I've got a 3-year contract. Hopefully the council and the mayor continue to be happy with me, and I'll be able to stay. And even beyond then, you know, I'm here to stay, and I'm here to make it better. So just establishing those relationships, getting to know the communities well and how we can best serve them, and more importantly, you know, just focusing on our employees and making sure that the morale is good and everyone's moving in the right direction and excited to make things better.
We're excited to have you here in Joliet. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I look forward to our next interview for the two of you. And for those of you watching right now, I have a mission for you. Either tape with this thing here or get this on the cloud at your house, whatever you're going to do, but make sure your neighbors, your friends, your relatives have a chance and opportunity to watch this either on Channel 6 or YouTube. And this has been another special on Channel 6. I'm Richard Fredrickson. Thank you so very much for watching. Take care.